I found the deed on a Tuesday morning while sorting through Thomas's files. 10 months after burying my husband, and I was still discovering pieces of his life I'd never known existed. The envelope was tucked behind his tax returns from 2019, cream-colored paper with a Beaufort County seal. I almost missed it. My hands shook as I pulled out the document. Before we continue, comment where you're watching from, and subscribe to the channel. We'd love to see how far our stories are reaching. Property deed, 247 Palmetto Shore Drive, Hilton Head Island, SC, our beach house. The one Thomas bought for our 30th anniversary. The one where we'd spent every summer for the past 12 years. Except the name on the deed wasn't mine. It wasn't even Thomas's anymore. Gabrielle M. Torres. Transferred March 15, 2023. I read it 3 times. The words didn't change. My husband had signed away our beach house to a woman I'd never heard of, 18 months ago. While I was recovering from my knee replacement surgery, sleeping in the guest room because I couldn't manage the stairs. The coffee in my cup had gone cold. Outside, Mrs. Chen was walking her terrier past my window, same as every Tuesday at 9:30. Everything looked normal, but nothing was normal anymore. I typed the name into Google with fingers that wouldn't stay steady. Gabrielle Torres, CPA. Her LinkedIn profile loaded. Professional headshot, confident smile, 42 years old. She worked at Sanderson Manufacturing, Thomas's company. My throat tightened. Then I saw the connection that made my blood stop. Under her profile, listed as a family member, Natalie Torres Sanderson, my daughter-in-law. I set the laptop down and walked to the bathroom, splashed cold water on my face, looked at the woman in the mirror, 67 years old. Gray hair I'd stopped dyeing after Thomas died. Lines around my eyes from 30 years of nursing night shifts before retirement. My mother's nose. My father's stubborn chin. I looked like someone's grandmother. Someone harmless. Someone you could lie to. The phone rang. Michael. My son. My only child. Hi, Mom. Just checking in. How are you feeling today? His voice was warm, concerned. The same voice that had read bedtime stories when he was 5. The same voice that had called me from college every Sunday. The same voice that had held my hand at Thomas's funeral and promised, "We'll get through this together." "I'm fine, honey." My voice sounded strange, distant. "Natalie and I were thinking about coming by this weekend. She wants to bring that casserole you liked." Natalie, who introduced Gabrielle Torres to my husband 4 years ago at a company barbecue. I remembered that day now. Late August, hot enough to fry eggs on the pavement. Natalie had pulled Thomas aside, introduced him to her favorite aunt, the new accountant. I'd been inside, helping set up desserts. "That sounds nice," I said. After we hung up, I went back to Thomas's office. The room still smelled like his cologne. Old Spice, the same brand he'd worn since 1982. I'd kept everything exactly as he left it. His reading glasses on the desk. His coffee mug with the faded "World's Best Dad" printed on the side. Michael had given him that mug for Father's Day in 1994. I pulled out every file, every folder, every loose paper stuffed in drawers. By 3 o'clock, I'd found 6 more documents. Bank statements showing transfers to G. Torres. $5,000 here, $8,000 there. Small enough not to trigger alerts. Large enough to total $73,000 over 2 years. An insurance policy naming her as beneficiary. $250,000. A handwritten note in Thomas's messy scrawl. "G, the house will be ready by next summer, just like I promised." Next summer, that would be now. This summer, 2025. My hands were shaking so hard I could barely hold the papers. I'd nursed Thomas through his heart attack 3 years ago. Stayed awake for 48 hours straight when the first surgery failed. Learned how to give injections, monitor his blood pressure, crush his pills into applesauce when he couldn't swallow, and he'd been planning to give our house to his mistress. The doorbell rang at 4:15. I wasn't expecting anyone. Through the peephole, I saw a man I didn't recognize. Mid-40s, wearing jeans and a polo shirt, dark hair going gray at the temples. He looked tired. "Mrs. Sanderson?" he said when I opened the door. "My name is Daniel Torres. I think we need to talk about my wife." I let him in because something in his eyes looked like what I saw in the mirror. Betrayal. The kind that hollows you out from the inside. He sat on my couch, the same couch where Thomas used to fall asleep watching baseball. Daniel Torres pulled out his phone and showed me a photo. Gabrielle Torres and Thomas. At a restaurant I recognized. Santini's downtown. Thomas's favorite. They were holding hands across the table. I hired a private investigator 6 months ago, Daniel said quietly. After I found $180,000 missing from our savings account. The investigator followed her to that restaurant and to your beach house 11 times between January and June last year. The room tilted. I gripped the armrest. I didn't know about you until last week, he continued. The investigator finally traced the property records. I'm sorry. I know this must be my daughter-in-law, I interrupted. Natalie, she's Gabrielle's niece. Daniel's face went pale. I didn't know that. We sat there in silence, two strangers bound by the same betrayal. Outside, Mrs. Chen was walking back with her terrier. The same route, reversed. Everything normal. There's something else, Daniel said. He pulled out a folded paper. I found this in Gabrielle's desk last night. It's an email she printed out. I took it. The sender was Natalie. Sanderson Igmail, com, dated March 10, 2023, 5 days before the deed transfer. Aunt Gabby, Tom signed the papers. Everything went perfectly. He thinks he's securing your future. I'll handle Clara's side. The memory care facility in Charleston has an opening in May 2025. By the time anyone questions anything, it'll be too late. You promised me $50,000 when this is done. Don't forget. N. Memory care facility. They were planning to put me away. My own daughter-in-law. My son's wife. The woman I'd welcomed into my family. The woman I'd helped plan her wedding. The woman I'd stayed up with when she had mastitis nursing my grandson. She'd been planning to erase me. Daniel Torres was watching my face. I'm sorry, he said again. I set the email down carefully. My hands had stopped shaking. Something cold and clear was settling into my chest. Something that felt like clarity. Don't be sorry, I said. Be ready. Ready for what? I looked at him. This stranger who'd walked into my life with proof of what I'd already known in my bones. That my husband had betrayed me. That my family had conspired against me. That I'd been marked for disposal like an inconvenient piece of furniture. Ready to take back what they stole, I said. Outside, the sun was setting. Tuesday evening in a quiet neighborhood in Hilton Head. Everything looked normal, but nothing would be normal again. Michael called 3 times on Wednesday. I let it go to voicemail twice. The third time, I answered. Mom, you sound weird. Are you okay? I was sitting in Thomas's office, surrounded by evidence of his double life. Bank statements, hotel receipts, credit card bills for jewelry I'd never seen, a bracelet from Tiffany's, $40,200, purchased February 14th, 2023, Valentine's Day. He'd given me a card that year. Hallmark, $3.99. I'd found the receipt. I'm fine, honey. Just tired. Natalie's worried about you. She says you haven't been returning her texts. Natalie, who'd orchestrated this entire thing, who'd introduced her aunt to my dying husband, who'd planned my erasure like she was organizing a dinner party. I've been busy, I said. Busy with what? I looked at the papers spread across Thomas's desk. What could I tell him? Your wife is trying to steal everything from me? Your father had a mistress? Your perfect little family is built on fraud? Just sorting through your father's things, I said. Mom. His voice shifted, became careful. Natalie and I have been talking. We think it might be good for you to have some help. You know, around the house. With things. My chest tightened. What kind of help? Just someone to check in on you. Make sure you're taking your medications. Keeping track of appointments. We found this really nice place in Charleston that... I don't need help, Michael. Mom, you're 67. And you've been under a lot of stress since Dad died. It's normal to need support. There's no shame in... I said I don't need help. Silence. Then, okay, we'll talk about it this weekend. After we hung up, I stared at my pill organizer on the desk. 7 days, 4 times daily. Every slot filled correctly. I'd been a nurse for 30 years. I knew how to manage medications, but that didn't matter. They'd already decided I was incompetent. Daniel Torres came back on Thursday. He brought coffee from the shop on Market Street. 2 sugars, cream. He'd asked Mrs. Chen how I took it. I did some digging, he said, sitting across from me at the kitchen table. Your son filed for temporary power of attorney 2 weeks ago. The coffee turned to acid in my stomach. What? It's not finalized yet. But he submitted paperwork claiming you've been showing signs of cognitive decline. Missing appointments, forgetting to pay bills, confusion about dates and times. I hadn't missed any appointments. My bills were paid automatically, same as they'd been for 15 years, and I knew exactly what day it was. Thursday, April 17th, 2025. 10 months and 6 days since Thomas died. He needs a doctor's signature, Daniel continued. Someone to verify the cognitive decline. I haven't seen a doctor in 6 months, just my regular checkup in October. Everything was fine. Daniel pulled out another paper. Dr. Sarah Mitchell, family practice. She signed an assessment last Friday stating that you demonstrated significant memory loss and confusion during a recent visit. I grabbed the paper, read it twice. I've never heard of Dr. Sarah Mitchell. I don't have appointments on Fridays. My doctor is Dr. Patterson, and I haven't seen him since October. I know, Daniel said quietly. Dr. Mitchell is Natalie's college roommate. They're still close. She posted about their trip to Asheville last month on Facebook. The room felt too small, too hot. I stood up and walked to the window. Mrs. Chen was out with her terrier again. Same time, same route. Predictable. Safe. Everything in my life had been predictable. Wake at 7. Coffee on the porch. Crossword puzzle. Lunch at noon. Grocery shopping on Mondays. Book club on Thursdays. I'd built a careful, quiet life after retiring from nursing. And they'd turned that predictability into evidence of senility. There's more, Daniel said. He pulled up something on his phone. Your electricity bill. It went unpaid last month. Late fee of $47. That's impossible. It's automatic withdrawal. Not anymore. Someone changed it to paper billing on March 1st. The bill went to your old address, the apartment you lived in before you married Thomas. I hadn't lived at that address in 39 years. They're building a case, Daniel said. Piece by piece, making you look incompetent. When the power of attorney goes through, Michael controls everything. Your bank accounts, your property, your medical decisions. Why would Michael do this? He's my son. He loves me. Does he know about the affair? I sat back down. I don't think so. Then he probably thinks he's helping you. Natalie's been feeding him concerns, making him believe you're declining. He sees what she wants him to see. My hands were shaking again. I pressed them flat against the table. The memory care facility. In the email. May 2025. That's next month. They're moving fast, Daniel agreed. Once the power of attorney is in place, Natalie can convince Michael you need residential care for your own safety. And then I'm gone. I finished. Out of the house, out of their way, unable to contest anything, while Gabrielle moves into your beach house and Natalie collects her $50,000. I thought about last Christmas. Michael and Natalie had hosted at their place, a beautiful home with marble countertops and French doors that opened onto a garden. Natalie had made roast duck, served it on china I'd never seen before, white with gold trim. Those are gorgeous, I'd said, admiring the plates. Aren't they? Natalie had smiled. Early Christmas present to ourselves. We've been saving for years. $50,000 buys a lot of china. What do I do? I asked Daniel. He looked at me across my kitchen table, this stranger who'd become my only ally. We prove you're not incompetent. We expose the fraud, and we make sure they can't hurt either of us again. How? I have a friend, retired FBI. He specializes in financial crimes. If we can prove Natalie received money from Gabrielle and connect it to the fraudulent deed and the fake medical assessment, we have a case. That could take months. The power of attorney hearing is in 3 weeks. Then we work fast. That night, I couldn't sleep. I lay in bed staring at the ceiling, listening to the house settle. Every creak and groan sounded different now, threatening, like the walls themselves were conspiring against me. At 2 in the morning, I got up and went to Michael's old room. I'd kept it exactly as he left it when he moved out at 22. Star Wars posters, his high school football trophies, the quilt I'd made him for his 16th birthday. I sat on his bed and opened the drawer of his nightstand. Inside was a photo album, pictures from his childhood. Michael at 5, gap-toothed and grinning, holding a fish he'd caught at the beach house. Michael at 10, serious in his Little League uniform. Michael at 18, in his cap and gown, arm around my shoulders. In every photo where Thomas appeared, I noticed something I'd never seen before. Thomas was looking away, at something else, someone else, never quite present. How long had he been gone before he actually left? My phone buzzed. Text from Natalie. Hi, Mom. Can't wait to see you Saturday. I'm bringing your favorite lemon cake. Need me to pick up anything? Your prescription's refilled? XO. Mom. She'd started calling me Mom 3 years ago, right after she introduced Gabrielle to Thomas. I typed back, no thank you. See you Saturday. Then I forwarded the text to Daniel. His response came immediately. Document everything. Every text, every call, every interaction. We're building our own case now. I went back to bed and finally fell asleep as the sun was coming up. I dreamed about the beach house, about sitting on the deck with Thomas, watching the waves. But when I turned to look at him, his face kept changing, shifting into someone I didn't recognize. When I woke up Friday afternoon, there was a voicemail from Michael. Hi, Mom. Quick thing. I noticed your car registration is expired. Just wanted to remind you to take care of that. Also, Natalie mentioned you seemed confused about what day book club meets. It's Thursday, remember? Not Tuesday. Anyway, call me back. Love you. My car registration wasn't expired. I'd renewed it in January, and I'd never told Natalie anything about book club. They were creating a narrative, building evidence that didn't exist, preparing everyone around me to believe I was losing my mind. I called Daniel. They're escalating, I said. I know. My investigator found something else. Gabrielle withdrew $50,000 cash on April 1st. She told the bank it was for home renovations. She's already paid, Natalie. Looks like it. I walked to the window. Mrs. Chen wasn't outside. For the first time in years, her routine had changed. Or maybe I was the one changing, seeing things differently now. Daniel, I said, what if we can't stop them? Then we don't stop them, he said. We let them think they've won, and then we take everything. Saturday arrived like a death sentence. I spent the morning cleaning the house, vacuuming carpets that didn't need vacuuming, dusting shelves that weren't dusty, arranging the living room so it looked lived in but not messy, competent, normal. At 11:30, I took my blood pressure, 148/92, high, but not dangerous. I'd survived worse during my nursing career. Code blues at 3 in the morning, patients crashing during routine procedures. You learn to function through fear. Michael and Natalie arrived at noon exactly. Hi, Mom. Natalie swept in wearing a yellow sundress, carrying a cake box and her leather purse. She kissed my cheek. Her perfume was too sweet. Gardenias. It made my stomach turn. Michael hugged me. He smelled like his father's cologne. When had he started wearing Old Spice? You look good, Mom, he said. But his eyes were scanning the room, looking for evidence, proof that I was falling apart. Thank you, honey. Come sit down. I made iced tea. We settled in the living room. The same room where Gabrielle Torres had sat 4 days ago and shown me the email that proved my daughter-in-law wanted me erased. I poured tea into glasses, my hands steady. Not a tremor. Not a shake. So, Natalie said brightly, we wanted to talk to you about something exciting. I set down the pitcher. Oh? Michael and I have been thinking. This house is so big for just you, all these stairs, the maintenance, the yard work. I manage fine. Of course you do. Natalie's smile never wavered. But we worry. What if you fall? What if something happens and no one's here to help? Michael leaned forward. Mom, we found this great place in Charleston. Heritage Gardens. It's a continuing care community. Beautiful grounds, activities every day. You'd have your own apartment, but there's staff available 24/7 if you need anything. A nursing home. Not a nursing home, Natalie corrected gently. Independent living. Lots of people your age choose this lifestyle. It's actually very freeing. No more worrying about household tasks. No more being alone. I looked at my son, my only child, the boy I'd rocked to sleep when he had nightmares, the teenager I'd waited up for when he missed curfew, the man who'd held my hand at his father's funeral. I don't want to move, I said. We know change is scary. Natalie reached over and patted my hand. But it's really for the best. And Michael can sell this house and use the money to pay for Heritage Gardens. They have an opening in May. Perfect timing. May. Exactly when the email said. What if I say no? Michael shifted uncomfortably. Mom, we need to talk about something else. I've been reviewing your finances. You've been missing payments, making mistakes with your accounts. I haven't missed any payments. The electric bill was changed to paper billing without my authorization, sent to an address I haven't lived at in almost 40 years. Silence. Natalie's smile flickered. How did you know that? Michael asked. Because I called the electric company. They have records. Someone called on March 1st and changed the billing. They have the phone number on file. I pulled out my phone and showed him the screenshot Daniel had helped me get. The number that had called the electric company. I'd run it through a reverse lookup. It belonged to Natalie's office phone at the real estate agency where she worked part-time. Michael stared at the screen. There must be some mistake. There's no mistake. I kept my voice level. Calm. Someone has been sabotaging my accounts, making it look like I'm incompetent. And I know why. Natalie stood up. Michael, I think your mother is getting upset. Maybe we should sit down, I said. She froze. Something in my tone made her obey. I pulled out the folder I'd prepared, the one Daniel and I had spent 2 days organizing. I set it on the coffee table. Inside this folder is a deed transferring my beach house to Gabrielle Torres. Your aunt, Natalie. Transferred 18 months ago without my knowledge or consent. There are also bank statements showing $73,000 transferred from Thomas's accounts to Gabrielle over 2 years, hotel receipts, restaurant bills, and this. I pulled out the email, the one Natalie had sent to her aunt, the one about the memory care facility and the $50,000. Michael took it, read it. His face went white. This isn't, Natalie started. It's from your email address, I said. Daniel Torres has the original. His investigator has traced the IP address. It came from your laptop. Who's Daniel Torres? Michael asked quietly. Gabrielle's husband. The man whose wife was sleeping with Thomas. The man whose wife stole $180,000 from their savings account. The color drained from Natalie's face. Michael, she's confused. She's not making sense. This is exactly what I've been worried about. But Michael wasn't looking at her. He was looking at me. Dad had an affair. Yes. With Natalie's aunt. Yes. And they stole our beach house. Yes. He set down the email carefully. His hands were shaking. How long have you known? 5 days. Why didn't you tell me? Because I needed to be sure. Because I needed evidence. Because you filed for power of attorney 2 weeks ago based on a medical assessment from a doctor I've never seen. A doctor who happens to be Natalie's college roommate. Michael turned to his wife. Natalie? It's not what it looks like, she said quickly. Your mother is sick, Michael. She's imagining things, creating conspiracies. This is textbook paranoid delusion. Sarah can explain. Sarah Mitchell? Your roommate from Duke. The one you went to Asheville with last month. I pulled out another paper. Here's her signature on the cognitive assessment. And here's a photo from your Instagram of you two at the Biltmore estate on March 28th, 3 days after she supposedly examined me. Natalie's mouth opened, closed. She looked like a fish drowning in air. Get out, Michael said. Michael, please, get out of my mother's house. Natalie grabbed her purse. She looked at me, and for the first time I saw past the mask, saw the calculation, the cold assessment of how badly she'd miscalculated. You can't prove anything, she said. It's all circumstantial. Daniel Torres is former FBI, I said. He specializes in financial fraud. and he has very good lawyers." She left without the cake. Michael and I sat in silence for a long time. I could hear the kitchen clock ticking. Mrs. Chen's terrier barking outside. Normal sounds in an afternoon that had just destroyed my son's marriage. "I'm sorry," I said finally. "Don't." His voice was rough. "Don't apologize. I should have listened to you. I should have questioned things. But Natalie was so convincing. She showed me the bills, the missed appointments. She said you'd called her confused about what day it was. And I believed her because she's your wife, because you trusted her. I chose her over you." He looked up, and his eyes were red. "I was going to have you committed, Mom. I was going to take everything from you, because my wife told me it was the right thing to do. You didn't know. I should have known." He stood up and walked to the window. "Dad cheated on you. For years, probably. And I never noticed. Never saw it. What kind of son am I? The kind who sees the best in people. That's not a weakness, Michael." "It feels like one right now." I joined him at the window. Outside, life continued. Cars driving past. Neighbors mowing lawns. A world that didn't know my family had just imploded. "What happens now?" Michael asked. "Now we prove what they did. We get the beach house back. We make sure Natalie and Gabrielle can't hurt anyone else. What about Daniel Torres? He wants the same thing we do. Justice. And maybe some peace." Michael pulled out his phone. "I need to call my lawyer, file for divorce, stop the power of attorney petition." He paused. "Mom, I'm going to fix this. We'll fix it together." But even as I said it, I felt the weight of what we were facing. Natalie had $50,000 in cash. Gabrielle had my beach house. They had months of planning and preparation, and they weren't going to give up without a fight. My phone buzzed. Text from an unknown number. "Congratulations, you won today, but you haven't won everything, and you never will. Some things can't be taken back. N." I showed Michael. His jaw tightened. "What does she mean?" I thought about the beach house, about summers with Thomas, about 39 years of marriage that I'd believed were real, about trust that couldn't be rebuilt once it shattered. "She means she's already destroyed what mattered most," I said. "The memories, the belief that my life meant something. Your life means everything, Mom." I looked at my son. This good man who'd been manipulated by someone he loved, who'd almost destroyed his mother because he'd trusted the wrong person. "I know," I said, "but I need to prove that to myself." After Michael left, I sat alone in the quiet house. The cake Natalie had brought was still on the counter. Lemon, with cream cheese frosting. My favorite. She'd remembered that detail even while planning my erasure. I threw it in the trash. Then I called Daniel. "Michael knows everything," I said. "He's filing for divorce, stopping the power of attorney." "Good. That's good." But Natalie sent me a message. "She's not backing down." "Neither are we," Daniel said. "Tomorrow we go to the beach house. We document everything. We build a case so strong they can't wiggle out of it." "Okay. Clara?" "Yes?" "You did good today. You stood your ground. A lot of people couldn't do that." After we hung up, I walked through the house turning off lights. The same routine I'd followed for 39 years. But tonight, it felt different, like I was moving through a stranger's home. In the bedroom, I opened the closet and pulled out Thomas's clothes, his shirts, his pants, his shoes lined up neatly on the rack. I packed them all into garbage bags. Tomorrow, I would take back my beach house. But tonight, I was taking back my closet. It was a start. Sunday morning, Daniel picked me up at 7. The sun was just starting to burn off the fog that rolled in from the ocean overnight. I'd been awake since 4, sitting at the kitchen table with coffee that had gone cold, staring at photos of the beach house. Thomas and I had bought it in 2013, 12 years ago, paid $340,000 cash from the sale of his mother's estate. It was a small cottage then, 2 bedrooms, weathered blue paint, a deck that overlooked the dunes. We'd renovated it slowly, added a sunroom, replaced the roof, painted it white with navy shutters. Every summer for 12 years, we'd spent July there, reading on the deck, walking on the beach at sunset, cooking shrimp we'd bought from the docks. Thomas would grill. I would make coleslaw from my mother's recipe. I thought those were good memories. Now I didn't know what they were. "You ready?" Daniel asked when I got in his truck. No, but let's go anyway. The drive took 40 minutes. Daniel didn't try to fill the silence with small talk. I appreciated that. We just drove, watching the landscape change from residential neighborhoods to salt marshes to the narrow road that ran along the coast. When we pulled up to 247 Palmetto Shore Drive, my chest tightened. The house looked different. The shutters had been repainted, bright turquoise now instead of navy. There was a new mailbox at the end of the driveway, white with painted flowers, a wicker bench on the front porch that I'd never seen before, and a car in the driveway, silver Lexus. New, maybe 2 years old. That's Gabrielle's car, Daniel said quietly. We sat there for a moment. I could see movement through the front window, someone walking past, living in my house, using my furniture, sleeping in my bed. I can't do this, I said. Yes, you can. What if she calls the police? She has the deed. Legally, it's her house now. Legally, it's a fraudulent transfer. Your husband forged your signature on the quitclaim deed. I had a handwriting expert look at it yesterday. That's your name, but it's not your signature. I looked at him. When did you get the deed? I have friends in the county recorder's office. Called in a favor. He pulled out a folder. I also have the original deed from 2013. Your signature is clear. The one on the transfer document doesn't match. It's close but not right. He practiced, but he wasn't good enough. Thomas had forged my name, signed away our house without even asking me. What's the plan? I asked. We knock on the door. We tell her we know about the fraud. We document everything inside with photos. And we give her a choice. Sign the house back over voluntarily, or face criminal charges for conspiracy to commit fraud. She won't sign. Probably not, but we need to give her the chance. It makes our case stronger. We got out of the truck. The morning air smelled like salt and honeysuckle. A normal Sunday morning at the beach. People were probably having breakfast on their decks, reading the paper, planning their day. I knocked on the door. Gabrielle Torres answered wearing yoga pants and a tank top. Her hair was in a messy bun. She had a coffee mug in her hand. She looked young, rested, happy. When she saw us, the happiness drained from her face. What are you doing here? We need to talk, Daniel said. I'm calling the police. Please do, I said. I'd love to explain to them how you're living in a house that was transferred to you through a forged signature. She stared at me. I don't know what you're talking about. Yes, you do. I pulled out the folder Daniel had given me. Thomas forged my signature on the quitclaim deed. I have a handwriting expert's analysis. I also have bank statements showing he transferred $73,000 to you over 2 years, hotel receipts, restaurant bills, and an email from your niece discussing how you plan to have me declared incompetent so no one would question the transfer. Gabrielle's hand tightened on her coffee mug. You can't prove any of that. Actually, we can. Daniel stepped forward. I'm former FBI, Gabrielle. I know exactly how to build a fraud case. And I know you withdrew $50,000 cash on April 1st, the same amount you promised Natalie in that email. That's evidence of conspiracy. Get off my property. It's not your property, I said. It's mine, and I'm taking it back. For a moment, we stood there, 3 people on a porch at a beach house, locked in a silent battle. Then Gabrielle's face changed, softened. Tears welled up in her eyes. You don't understand, she said. Thomas loved me. He wanted me to have this house. He said you didn't care about it anymore, that you never wanted to come here after his heart attack. He said you'd be happier in town. It was a good performance. I'd seen better from patients trying to get extra pain medication, but it was decent. Thomas is dead, I said, and he lied to you just like he lied to me. He didn't lie. He loved me. He loved what you represented, an escape, a fantasy, someone who didn't know him when he was 25 and broke and scared. But love, real love, that requires honesty. And Thomas hasn't been honest with either of us in a very long time. Gabrielle wiped her eyes. I'm not giving up this house. Then we'll see you in court, Daniel said. We turned to leave. I made it 3 steps before she called out, Clara. I stopped. He talked about you all the time. At the beginning. How you'd put him through business school. How you'd worked double shifts when his company was failing. How you'd never complained. Never asked for anything. Her voice was bitter. He made you sound like a saint. It was exhausting. And then? And then he stopped talking about you at all. Like you just faded away. Become part of the furniture. I turned to face her. Is that supposed to make me feel better? That my husband erased me slowly instead of all at once? I'm just telling you the truth. You wanted honesty. What I want is my house back. Daniel and I spent the next hour photographing everything. The new furniture in the living room. Restoration hardware, probably $10,000 worth. The kitchen with updated appliances. Viking range, $8,000. Sub-Zero refrigerator, $12,000. The master bedroom with a new king-size bed. Fred linens, $2,000 just for the sheets. Gabrielle had spent at least $50,000 renovating my house. Money Thomas had given her. Money that came from our joint accounts. Money I'd helped earn during 30 years of nursing. In the closet, I found Thomas's clothes, his favorite fishing shirt, his worn baseball cap from the Braves game we'd gone to for our 20th anniversary, his reading glasses. She'd kept his things like a shrine. This is good, Daniel said, taking photos. Shows she knew he was married. Knew this was wrong. This isn't innocent mistake territory anymore. We found more evidence in the office. Bills addressed to Thomas Sanderson and Gabrielle Torres. Joint names like they were married. Credit card statements for furniture, for renovations, for a week-long trip to Charleston. March 2024. While I was home taking care of Thomas after his second heart surgery, in the desk drawer, I found a letter, Thomas's handwriting. My dearest G, by the time you read this, I'll be gone. I know this isn't the ending we planned. I know I promised you years, not months. But my heart is failing, and I'm not afraid of dying. I'm afraid of leaving you without security. The house is yours now. Clara will be taken care of through my life insurance and the trust. She'll be fine. She's always been fine on her own, but you need this place. You need something that's yours. I hope you find happiness here. I hope you think of me sometimes when you're watching the sunset from the deck. All my love, T. I read it twice. Then I set it down carefully on the desk. Clara? Daniel was watching me. He planned this before he died. The transfer, the affair, all of it. It wasn't impulse. It wasn't a mistake. He chose this, chose her, chose to betray me deliberately and completely. I'm sorry. Don't be. I'd rather know the truth. We left at noon. Gabrielle watched from the porch as we drove away. I didn't look back. On the drive home, Daniel said, my lawyer can file the lawsuit tomorrow. Fraud, forgery, conspiracy. With the evidence we have, we'll win. How long will it take? 6 months, maybe a year. These things move slow. I don't have a year. The power of attorney hearing is in 3 weeks. If we don't move faster, Natalie will find another way to come at me. Daniel was quiet for a moment. Then, there might be another option. What? We go public. The local paper loves stories like this. Widow discovers husband's affair. Fights to reclaim stolen property. You'll have community support. Public pressure. Make it harder for Natalie and Gabrielle to operate in the shadows. I don't want to be a news story. I know, but sometimes shame is more effective than lawsuits. I thought about it. About my private pain becoming public entertainment. About people at the grocery store recognizing me, pitying me, gossiping about me over their coffee. But I also thought about Natalie's text. About how she'd already destroyed what mattered most. Maybe she was right. Maybe the memories were already ruined. Maybe all that was left was the fight. Set up the interview, I said. That night, Michael came over with Chinese takeout. We sat at the kitchen table eating lo mein and egg rolls, not talking about the enormous elephant in the room. Finally, he set down his chopsticks. I moved out this morning, took a hotel room downtown. Michael? She was gone when I got home last night. Cleaned out her closet, took her jewelry, left her wedding ring on the bathroom counter. She texted me around midnight. Said I'd regret choosing you over her. Said I'd understand someday that she was trying to help. I'm sorry. Stop apologizing, Mom. You didn't do anything wrong. He rubbed his face. I keep thinking about all the little things. How she always insisted on managing our finances. How she'd get upset if I talked to you without telling her first. How she'd schedule things on your birthday so we couldn't see you. I thought she was just particular, organized. I didn't see it for what it was. Control. Yeah, control. He looked at me. Dad did the same thing, didn't he? All those years. Making you think you were the problem when really he was just preparing his exit. I didn't have an answer for that. We finished dinner in silence. After Michael left, I washed the dishes and put them away. Normal tasks in an abnormal life. My phone rang. Unknown number. Mrs. Sanderson? This is Rebecca Walsh from the Island Packet. Daniel Torres reached out about an interview. Would you be available tomorrow afternoon? I looked around my kitchen, at the life I'd built, the life that had been systematically dismantled by people who were supposed to love me. Yes, I said. I'm available. After we hung up, I sat at the table and opened my laptop. I typed Thomas's name into Google, along with Gabrielle Torres. Nothing came up. They'd been careful. But tomorrow, everyone would know. Tomorrow, the fight became public. The article ran on Wednesday morning. Front page of the Island Packet, below the fold. Local widow fights to reclaim beach house. After husband's alleged affair and fraud, Rebecca Walsh had been thorough. She'd interviewed me for 2 hours on Monday, recorded everything, checked every fact. She'd contacted Gabrielle for comment. Gabrielle had refused. She'd reached out to Natalie. No response. The article included the forged signature analysis, the bank transfers, the email about the memory care facility, everything except the most humiliating details. Rebecca had been kind about that. By 9 that morning, my phone was ringing constantly. Friends I hadn't talked to in months, people from my old nursing job, the president of my book club. Everyone wanted to know if I was okay. Everyone was outraged on my behalf. It felt strange, being seen, being believed. At 10:30, my doorbell rang. I looked through the peephole and froze. Michael was standing there, and next to him, looking pale and scared, was Natalie. I opened the door. Mom, Michael said, please, just hear us out. There's nothing to hear. 5 minutes. That's all I'm asking. I looked at Natalie. She'd lost weight, dark circles under her eyes. Her hair wasn't styled the way she usually wore it. She looked diminished, smaller somehow. 5 minutes, I said. We sat in the living room, the same room where everything had fallen apart 4 days ago. Natalie perched on the edge of the couch, her hands twisted together in her lap. She wouldn't look at me. Natalie has something she wants to say, Michael said. Silence. Then, so quietly, I almost didn't hear it. I'm sorry. For what? Specifically, she flinched. For everything. For introducing Thomas to Aunt Gabby. For the email. For the doctor's note. For trying to have you declared incompetent. For all of it. Why? Why what? Why did you do it? What did I ever do to you? Natalie finally looked up. Her eyes were red. You didn't do anything. That was the problem. You were perfect. Michael talked about you constantly. How strong you were. How you'd worked 3 jobs to put him through college. How you'd never complained, never asked for help. I felt like I was competing with a saint. So you tried to erase me. I tried to prove I was better. That I could take care of Michael in ways you never could. When Aunt Gabby told me about Thomas, about the affair, I saw an opportunity. If you were gone, if you were discredited, then Michael would need me. Only me. The logic was twisted, sick, but I understood it. I'd spent 30 years in nursing. I'd seen what desperation and insecurity could do to people. The $50,000, I said. Did you spend it? Most of it. Down payment on our house. Michael thinks it came from my parents. Michael's face went white. Natalie, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Tears were streaming down her face now. Real ones, I thought, not performance. I didn't think it would go this far. I thought Thomas would change the deed and you'd never know. He said you never went to the beach house anymore anyway. But then he died and everything got complicated and I couldn't stop it. You could have stopped it at any point, I said. You could have told the truth. I know that now. But I was in too deep. The money was spent. The doctor's note was filed. The power of attorney was in motion. If I stopped, everything would come out. I'd lose Michael, lose the house, lose everything. So you decided to lose me instead. She nodded, crying too hard to speak. I looked at my son. Why did you bring her here? Because she's been calling me for 3 days, begging to apologize to you. She saw the article. She knows everything's going to come out. The fraud charges, the conspiracy, all of it. Her parents have hired a lawyer. But before that happens, she wanted you to know she's sorry. Will her being sorry give me back my marriage? Give me back the years I spent believing Thomas loved me? Give me back my son's trust? No, Michael said quietly. Nothing will give you that back. But maybe it's a start. Maybe acknowledging what she did, facing it, that means something. It means she's scared of going to jail. Natalie flinched again, but she didn't deny it. My phone rang. Daniel's name on the screen. I answered. Turn on channel 7, he said. Now. I grabbed the remote and switched on the TV. The local news was on, and there, standing in front of the beach house, was Gabrielle Torres giving an interview. These accusations are completely false, she was saying. Thomas Sanderson and I were in love. He wanted me to have this house. His wife had abandoned it years ago. She never cared about this place. The reporter, a young woman with perfect makeup, asked, But Mrs. Sanderson says her signature was forged on the transfer documents. She's confused. Grief does strange things to people. Thomas told me she'd been having memory problems. I think she genuinely doesn't remember signing those papers. I stood up so fast the room spun. That lying? I started. Keep watching, Daniel said. The camera cut to someone else. A woman I didn't recognize. 50s, professional-looking, standing on the same street as the beach house. I'm Caroline Brennan, she said. I live 3 houses down from 247 Palmetto Shore. I've lived here for 20 years, and I can tell you that Clara Sanderson spent every July at that beach house. Every single summer. I've had coffee with her dozens of times. We've talked about books, gardening, our grandchildren. The idea that she abandoned this place is absurd. Another neighbor appeared on screen. Then another. 5 people total, all saying the same thing. Clara Sanderson loved that house. She was there every summer. She was kind, sharp, completely competent. The camera cut back to Gabrielle. Her face had gone from confident to panicked. I have documents, she said weakly. Legal documents. Forged documents, the reporter corrected. According to a handwriting analysis obtained by this station, the signature on the quitclaim deed doesn't match Mrs. Sanderson's verified signature. We've reached out to the Beaufort County Sheriff's Office for comment on potential criminal charges. The segment ended. I sat back down, my legs shaking. Daniel, I said into the phone. How did you... I didn't. Rebecca Walsh is a real journalist. She did her job. She talked to your neighbors, verified your story. And now Gabrielle just lied on camera, which makes our case even stronger. After I hung up, I looked at Natalie. She'd watched the whole segment, her face growing paler with each minute. That's what happens when you tell the truth, I said. People believe you, people help you. But you and Gabrielle chose lies, and now you're both trapped in them. What are you going to do? Natalie asked. I'm going to get my house back. I'm going to make sure you both face consequences. And then I'm going to rebuild my life without either of you in it. Mom, Michael said, Natalie's willing to testify against Gabrielle. To help your case. She'll admit everything in court. I looked at my daughter-in-law, this woman who'd tried to have me committed, who'd taken money to help steal my property, who'd fabricated evidence of my incompetence. Why would you do that? Because I'm going to jail anyway, Natalie said. The lawyer my parents hired explained it. Conspiracy to commit fraud, falsifying medical documents, financial crimes. I'm looking at 3 to 5 years minimum. But if I cooperate, if I testify against Aunt Gabby, they might reduce the sentence. And maybe someday when I get out, Michael might be able to forgive me. She looked at my son. He looked away. I don't forgive you, he said. I don't know if I ever will, but you're still my wife, legally, and I'm not going to abandon you completely. Not like, he stopped, but I knew what he was going to say. Not like Dad abandoned Mom. I'll accept your testimony, I said. But I want something else. Anything. I want you to stand up in court and explain exactly what you did. Every detail, every lie, every manipulation. I want it on the record. Not just for the legal case, but so Michael knows. So everyone knows. No more secrets. No more half-truths. Natalie nodded. Okay. And I want the $50,000 back, however you have to do it. Sell the house, borrow from your parents. I don't care. But that money came from my accounts, through Gabrielle, and I want it returned. The house is in both our names, Michael said. I'll sell it. Use my half to pay you back. It won't cover everything, but it's enough, I said. They left 20 minutes later. Through the window, I watched them walk to Michael's car. They didn't touch, didn't talk, just walked side by side like strangers. My phone rang again. Daniel. Gabrielle's lawyer just called mine, he said. They want to negotiate. Negotiate what? A settlement. She'll sign the house back over to you, return the remaining stolen funds. In exchange, you don't press criminal charges. What about her charges against Natalie? Those are separate. State's attorney is handling that. But if Natalie testifies against Gabrielle, your criminal case gets stronger. Gabrielle's lawyer knows that. They're trying to minimize damage. I walked to the window. Outside, Mrs. Chen was walking her terrier. Normal life, continuing. I want the house, I said. I want every dollar Thomas gave her returned. I want a public apology. And I want her to pay for the handwriting analysis, the legal fees, everything this has cost me. That's a lot. She took a lot. I'll call them back. That evening, I sat on my porch watching the sunset. The sky was orange and pink and purple. Beautiful. The kind of sunset Thomas and I used to watch together at the beach house. Except we hadn't been watching together. Not really. He'd been somewhere else, planning his exit, building his lie. My phone buzzed. Text from Michael. Mom, I don't know how to fix this, any of it, but I'm going to try. I love you. I typed back. I know. I love you too. It wasn't forgiveness, not yet, but it was acknowledgement. It was a door left open. Another text came through. Unknown number. You win. My lawyer will have the papers ready by Friday. G. I read it 3 times, then I deleted it. Because this wasn't about winning. It never had been. It was about truth. About refusing to be erased. About standing up when everyone expected you to sit down and accept your fate. The sun finished setting. The sky went dark. Inside my house, my phone kept ringing with calls from people who'd read the article. People who wanted to help. People who believed me. For the first time in 10 months, I didn't feel alone. For the first time in maybe years, I felt seen. The papers were signed on Friday afternoon in a conference room that smelled like lemon polish and old coffee. Gabrielle's lawyer had flown in from Charleston. Mine had driven up from Savannah. Daniel sat next to me, a silent presence that steadied my hands when they wanted to shake. Gabrielle looked smaller than she had at the beach house. Her hair was pulled back tight. No makeup. She wore a gray suit that hung loose on her frame. She wouldn't look at me. The settlement was simple. The beach house returned to my name. $127,000 transferred back to my accounts. That was the $73,000 Thomas had given her, plus the $50,000 she'd paid Natalie, plus $4,000 in documented legal fees. She'd agreed to a recorded statement admitting the fraud. No criminal charges filed by me. But the state could still prosecute based on Natalie's testimony if they chose. Sign here, my lawyer said, sliding papers across the table. Gabrielle's hand trembled as she picked up the pen. For a moment, I thought she might refuse, might tear up the documents and storm out. But she signed. 3 places. Her lawyer witnessed. It was done. I loved him, she said suddenly. Her voice was hoarse. I know you don't believe that. I know you think I was just after money. But I loved him. Then you loved someone who didn't exist, I said. Because the Thomas you knew was a fantasy. A man with no history, no obligations, no wife who'd sacrificed everything for him. He said you'd grown apart. We had. Because he'd stopped trying. Stopped seeing me. I became invisible in my own marriage long before you came along. But that doesn't make what you did right. She finally looked at me. Do you want me to say I'm sorry? No. Because you're not. You're sorry you got caught. You're sorry you have to give back the house. But you're not sorry for what you did. And I don't need fake apologies. We left the conference room separately. I waited 10 minutes before going to my car. I didn't want to risk seeing her in the parking lot. Didn't want to hear any more justifications or explanations. Daniel walked me out. How do you feel? Empty. I thought I'd feel victorious. Or relieved. But I just feel tired. That's normal. You've been running on adrenaline for 2 weeks. Now that the crisis is over, your body crashes. Is it over? The legal part is? The rest? He shrugged. That takes longer. We stood by my car. The sun was setting, casting long shadows across the parking lot. What will you do now? I asked. File for divorce. Rebuild my life. Maybe sell the house and move somewhere new. Too many ghosts where I am now. He smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. What about you? I don't know yet. He handed me a business card. If you ever need anything or just want to talk to someone who understands, I'll be around. After he left, I drove to the beach house. My beach house. It was after 6 when I arrived. The sun was low over the ocean, painting the sky in shades of coral and gold. I unlocked the door with keys the lawyer had given me. Gabrielle had cleaned out her things. The restoration hardware furniture was gone. The Viking range and Sub-Zero refrigerator remained. Fixtures now. But the personal items, the clothes, the photos, all of it was gone. The house felt hollow, like a stage set after the actors had left. I walked through each room. The living room where Thomas had read the paper on Sunday mornings. The kitchen where I'd made my mother's coleslaw every July. The bedroom where we'd slept in the same bed for 12 summers, growing quietly apart without admitting it. In the office, the desk was empty. No letter, no evidence that Gabrielle had ever been here. She'd erased herself as thoroughly as Thomas had tried to erase me. I sat on the deck and watched the ocean. The waves rolled in, steady and eternal. The same waves that had been here before I bought this house. The same waves that would be here long after I was gone. My phone rang. Michael. Mom? Where are you? At the beach house. Can I come down? I need to talk to you. Okay. He arrived an hour later, just as the stars were starting to appear. He'd brought takeout from the seafood place we used to go to. Fried shrimp and hush puppies, sweet tea in plastic cups. We ate on the deck in silence. Finally, he set down his food. Natalie's lawyer worked out a deal. 2 years in a minimum security facility. Restitution to you. Permanent record, but not 5 years. Her parents are grateful. They asked me to thank you for not pushing for harsher charges. I didn't do it for them. I know. You did it because you're better than all of us. He looked out at the ocean. I listed our house. Should sell in a month or 2. Market's good right now. My half will be about $60,000 after we pay off the mortgage. I want you to have it. Michael, please, let me do this. Let me make something right. Where will you live? I found a rental downtown. Small place. 1 bedroom. It's all I need right now. He turned to face me. I'm sorry, Mom. For all of it. For not seeing what was happening. For choosing Natalie over you. For believing Dad was someone he wasn't. Your father was complicated. He was a good father to you. That part was real. Was it? Or was that another performance? I thought about Thomas reading bedtime stories to Michael, teaching him to fish, showing up at every football game, even the away ones. Those moments had been real. I believed that. Or maybe I just needed to believe it. He loved you, I said. Whatever else was false, that was true. We sat there until the stars filled the sky. Michael told me about his plans. He was taking a leave from work, seeing a therapist, trying to understand how he'd missed so many signs, how he'd let himself be manipulated. I thought I was protecting you, he said. When I filed for power of attorney, Natalie showed me bills that weren't paid, appointments you'd missed. I thought I was being a good son. You were being a son who trusted his wife. That's not a character flaw. It feels like one. Trust isn't weakness, Michael. It's just trust. The people who betray that trust, they're the ones with the character flaws. After he left, I walked down to the beach. The sand was cool under my bare feet. The moon was full, reflecting off the water in a silver path that seemed to stretch forever. I thought about Thomas, about 39 years of marriage, about all the moments I'd believed were happy. Were they ruined now, tainted by his betrayal? Or could I separate them, keep the good memories and release the bad, choose what I wanted to carry forward? I didn't have answers. Maybe I never would. But standing there on the beach, in front of the house I'd fought to reclaim, I realized something. I was still here, still standing, still capable of fighting for myself. That was enough. 3 months later, I was sitting on the same deck when Mrs. Chen called. "Clara, dear, I'm at the farmer's market. They have those tomatoes you like. Should I grab some for you?" "Yes, please. I'll pick them up this evening." After we hung up, I smiled. Mrs. Chen had started checking on me every few days. Book club had rallied around me. Rebecca Walsh had written a follow-up article about elder financial abuse that had won some kind of journalism award. My story had become part of a larger conversation. I wasn't just Clara anymore, the invisible widow. I was Clara Sanderson, the woman who'd fought back. Michael came down most weekends. We were rebuilding our relationship slowly, carefully, learning to trust each other again. He'd started dating someone new, a teacher, divorced, 2 kids. He said it was casual, but I saw how his face changed when he talked about her. Natalie was serving her sentence. Michael visited her once a month, not because he'd forgiven her, he told me, but because she was still part of his life, in some strange way, part of his story. He couldn't just delete her. I understood that. Gabrielle had moved to Florida. Daniel had gotten the divorce. He'd sent me a Christmas card last month. He was dating someone too, a retired librarian who loved fishing. His note said, "Turns out there's life after betrayal." Who knew? I spent most of July at the beach house, alone, but not lonely. I'd made friends with the neighbors. Caroline Brennan from 3 houses down came over for coffee twice a week. We talked about books and grandchildren and the best places to buy fresh fish. One afternoon, I was cleaning out the office when I found something tucked behind a drawer. An envelope addressed to me in Thomas's handwriting. It must have fallen there and been missed when Gabrielle cleaned out. I sat on the floor and opened it. "Clara, if you're reading this, I'm gone. And if I know you, you've discovered everything by now. The affair, the house, all my carefully hidden lies. I could tell you I'm sorry. I could make excuses. But you deserve better than that. The truth is, I stopped being brave a long time ago. You were always the brave one, working 3 jobs, putting me through school, never complaining, never asking for anything. I admired that. I loved that. But it also made me feel small, inadequate. So I built another life where I could be the hero instead of the man who needed saving. That's not your fault. It's mine. You deserved better than me. You deserve better than this letter. But it's all I have left to give you. I hope someday you can remember the good parts, even if there weren't many. T. I read it 3 times. Then I took it out to the deck and burned it in the metal fire pit. Watched the paper curl and blacken and turn to ash. I didn't need his permission to remember the good parts. I didn't need his confession or his guilt or his inadequacy. I needed to choose my own story, and I chose this. I was 67 years old. I had a son who was learning to be better. I had a house I'd fought for and won. I had friends who believed me. I had a life that was messy and complicated and entirely my own. That evening, I made my mother's coleslaw. I grilled shrimp on the deck. I watched the sunset paint the sky in colors that no betrayal could dim. And when I went to bed that night, in my house, in my bed, surrounded by my choices, I slept peacefully because I'd done something Thomas never could. I'd chosen truth over comfort. I'd chosen myself.